Hello and welcome back to the channel. So, in my pursuit to figure out what I believe is the greatest rifle cartridge of all time, I want to talk about rifles themselves. I'm always thinking in my mind, if I had more money, what rifle would I buy? What scope would I put on it? If money was no option, I'd get the best rings, the best base. I would possibly have certain things done to it. And then I'm always thinking to myself, well, what caliber or cartridge would I have it in? And it's a never-ending cycle. And I'm always coming up with what I think is the perfect rifle, the perfect gun. And then I'll change my mind a couple weeks later. But what I want to share with you today is sometimes when you really think about it, the best rifle is the one you have. And here's my thinking on this. So let me just tell you what this is. I bought this gun, not in this configuration at all. It was a Yugo M48A. So it's a Mauser 98 action made in Yugoslavia in the 1950s. It's the A because it has a stamped floor plate instead of a milled floor plate, but besides that, it's exactly the same action. It's a Mauser 98 action, but it's actually slightly shorter than the normal Mauser action. I would consider the Mauser 98 action intermediate action between short and long or short and standard. This particular one's probably a quarter of an inch shorter than that, so it's on the short side for a Mauser action. It's still slightly longer though than a true modern day short action. The barrel was toast on this, so it had an 8mm barrel. It was bad. The inside was extremely pitted. It was just shot out. This was not an all matching serial numbers gun. It was just kind of, this piece of the stock and that barrel band and so on and so forth. So had I had a great gun in great condition with all matching serial number parts, I wouldn't have sporterized it, but I didn't have that. So I did get a sporterized stock. This is just a Boyd's stock, and at the time this was the only option for an aftermarket stock anywhere. It still might be, I'm not sure, for the Yugo M48A. There's lots of options for the Mauser 98 in general, but not for this particular one. So I thought it was really cool that Boyd's made this stock. I did have a gunsmith put a different bolt on here so that it could clear the scope, put a different safety on here, and then obviously he drilled and tapped it for a scope base. I had him put a loopholed single piece base on there. Got some loopholed rings. I also put a Timney trigger on here. So it doesn't have its original two-stage trigger, but it has a Timney trigger. Now this barrel is not that 8mm barrel that was toast, but I didn't buy a new barrel either. I had another Mauser that I bought a brand new barrel for it, and this was a 308 barrel. More specifically, 7.62 NATO barrel, and it was in really good shape. If you look down the bore, it was really clean. It looked pretty well new. I believe it's a 23-inch barrel. So I had a gunsmith, the same gunsmith that worked on my receiver to sporterize it. I had a gunsmith put that barrel on this action. So kind of a Frankenstein gun at this point. I have a used Mauser 98 barrel in 308, put on another used Mauser 98 action. Then I had another person later take off the tangent sight. Now this ramp is still there because it's, I believe, silver soldered in place, but the sliding sight is gone. But that's still there, and this is still there. So when you look at this gun, it doesn't really have a whole lot of value to anybody. Oh, and then on the scope, I bought a used off eBay, a used Miopta straight six or fixed six scope. This particular scope is is bung up pretty bad, got a lot of scrapes and stuff on it, but it's a very good glass quality. It's a fixed power six. I do like it. It came with this front cap. I bought this little back Butler Creek cap. The original rings I bought just did not work. It was too close right here. If I take this off, it's got a little bit more room, but there technically is some room there. The biggest issue was on this base that I had already bought. These rings were really close. In fact, this ring was literally up on the bell to the point where I had to get this, I don't know if you can see it there, but this ring that has an extension that puts it back. That helped it out. I was able to get the correct eye relief, and everything worked out good. Now, when you look at this scope, you see a beat up. When you look at this rifle, you see a beat up scope. You see kind of an ugly Frankenstein gun. So this is nothing spectacular. Nothing spectacular at all. I will tell you that this gun is awesome. I took it hunting a couple years ago, killed a couple deer with it, including the biggest buck I've ever shot. I haven't taken it out since, but it worked really good. I let a cousin of mine borrow it. He killed a couple deer with it. It done really well. I made some hand loads with my uncle for it, and it shot really well out of it. It's got a 23-inch barrel. It shot 100 feet per second faster than the book said it would. I don't really know why, but it really shot well. I shot it at 300 yards. It was very accurate. Had a pretty tight group. I would say right at minute of angle. It's been a great rifle. It doesn't look the greatest. It's kind of a strange looking contraption. Now, what's the point of all this? Why am I telling you this? This thing does have some value to me. It's a tough, durable, rugged rifle and scope combo. Obviously, when you customize a gun, you're doing it to your taste. It's a subjective thing, so I like the changes I've made to it, whatever the case. Custom guns generally never have the same value that you put into it. It's like when you soup up a vehicle, you're never going to get that out of it. But I like it, of course. But is it something that everybody's clamoring to get their hands on? No. No, not at all. Will it get the job done? Yes, it will. The point of this today is, let's just say for some reason, I came into a lot of money. I don't know. Won it on the game show. Won the lottery. Something silly. All of a sudden, I just had tons of money, and I could basically quit my job, do whatever I wanted to do, and have all the money that I needed to the rest of my life, and I could buy 100 guns if I wanted to, and 100 scopes, and I could have everything my heart's ever desired and wanted as far as guns and scopes and all that. Let's just pretend that was the case. I've thought about this many times, and at first it's such a cool thought. You can just go crazy and buy all the things you want to get. But the conclusion to that would be this, is that they wouldn't mean anything to me because I could buy whatever I wanted. And I wouldn't care about them because I didn't work hard for them. I care about this gun. One, I bought the original gun. I think it was $250, something like that. And I didn't have any money, really. I still don't have that much, but I had almost none at that time. And I literally had to work and save to buy a $100 trigger, Work and save to pay the gunsmith to do some stuff to this. Work and save to buy this stock. So every little improvement that I've made, despite it not being a valuable rifle, despite it not being the greatest thing ever, I got a lot of sentimental value in it. And so I think even if I was rich and could buy 100 guns, I would still look at this and think, oh man, that was back when I worked really hard to get just enough money to put these parts on there to make it a viable rifle. And so Think about that now. More than likely, you're never going to come into a lot of money. This is never going to play out like a real life scenario. But I want you to think about what you have right now and try to be content with it. Now, this is coming from a guy who I'm never content. I'm always wanting something else. I'm always wanting something new. So I'm preaching to the choir. Is that the right way to say it? I'm as guilty as anybody. I'm telling you this, but I'm not preaching at you. I'm just giving you some advice from someone who battles with this. Think about what you have now with what little money you've had, and think about how valuable it is to you and how much you work to get it. And maybe that'll make you feel better and make you not want so much other things, not to add to it, to just get more and more and more. Maybe you'll be more content, more happy with what you have when you think about that. But perhaps the greatest rifle for you is the one you already have. So just share this little nugget with you. Take care.